And a good day to you. It's Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. And talking, really, in one sense, is right at the heart of what we're going to be discussing today on the program. And we, as always, look for your takes at 1-800-585-9396. Many of you may be listening to the show right now on one of your gadgets, maybe your phone, your tablet, your computer. Well, Debbie, today we're going to talk about, are we just connected to them or dependent on them to the point where they say, Debbie, that some people actually experience anxiety and get nervous and feel really weird when their gadgets aren't like within easy reach. So we want to talk to people about this and just see if that's true for any of our listeners, or if they know anybody that just kind of gets a little bit unsettled, when they don't have their phone in their hand or their tablet or their computer nearby. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a great topic. We want to kind of, focus in on, are we running our gadgets, or are our gadgets running our lives, and that's really what we want to discuss. And Jerry, you posted on the Take2show.com, you posted that there's some kind of diagnosis for this. And I was wondering, was that a joke or was for real? I haven't had a chance to look it up and see if that's for real.
Yeah, I thought it was a joke at first as I was researching this topic. I think it was a British study of about 1,000 people, and they have actually coined the term nomophobia. No mobile phone. Okay, if you have no mobile phone in your hand, some people actually do get, they get anxious, they get nervous. Some people get, have these fears that they're going to miss something or not be connected. And, we're talking about these things, dear listeners, that can do so much good. But I'll share again what I've shared before. I woke up one time, it was probably close to a year ago, and I had 38 emails to myself from during the night. I had my phone next to me because, it's my alarm. I use it for my alarm and other things. But, we all get up for different things during the night. And, if I have a thought on my mind, I'll just pop a little email to myself. And voila, Debbie, there were 38 emails to myself. And I thought, man, I got to focus a little more on sleep when I'm in bed and not doing work.
By the way, Jerry, I know we probably should talk about this, not on the show, but it's kind of bothering me in my 50-year-old brain. I have to say it when it comes in the brain. You don't sleep with the cell phone close to you, do you? Because you've heard the studies that you're not supposed to do that. It's supposed to be at least a couple feet away from you.
Oh, yeah, it's a couple feet away, but it's within reach is what I'm saying.
Okay, good. Because, that's not good, too. That just those, whatever you call it, those waves shouldn't be going through you when you're sleeping. And that's an important thing, too, is so many, I will tell you, when one of my teenage sons, he used to actually have it, right in the same bed with him, so that he wouldn't miss a call. And that's really being very attached to a gadget, and that's what maybe we really need to look at. And I'll be the first one to share, Jerry, too, that there's been times where I've sometimes put my phone down on the table and I'll go to walk away, like at a restaurant or something, and if I remember, there is that panic that sets in where I go, where's my phone? And I go running back for it. You may not go running back for, something else that's important, but you go running back for your phone. But I'll tell you why. It's because maybe others are like this. I don't, back up my phone on a regular basis. And so there's a lot of things on there that I'm thinking, oh my goodness, I'm going to lose them. And so, dear listeners, if that's you, do you have that attachment to the things that are on the phone or that can do for you, or messages or phones or photos, call in and share with us. What is that attachment? We want to get to the root of this. 1-800-585-9396.
Yeah, I think that sometimes maybe, for many of us, perhaps myself included, there's this feeling of, my world is inside that. Okay. And I'm not necessarily just talking about pictures and music and stuff, but it's like people I know, people I love. I contact them. I contact them by means of these gadgets. And so it's sort of like I'm maybe a little disconnected from my world when I don't have those things right in my very near presence.
Wow. And Jerry, you just said something that just, you hit it. You hit it, Jerry. So many of us don't even remember people's phone numbers anymore. Remember in the old days when we were younger, we'd always remember people's phone numbers. You know how many times I would say to somebody, "What's your phone number?" and they don't even know their home phone number. They got to go to their phone and check it. I mean, that's interesting, Jerry. We are relying on these gadgets instead of our own memories of things. That you just, wow, that was an aha moment I just had that you spoke.
Well, about once a year or so, I have something intelligent to say, and so now I'm done with that one until 2017. But listen up, folks. It's your takes that drive the show. The number is 1-800-585-9396. Do you feel, again, this isn't like, we're not insulting anyone or, saying, we're bad people if we do this, but do you just find maybe you maybe physically have some sort of sensation, if your phone isn't clearly around, maybe just a little sense of, where is it? I really want to have it here. And I mean, I hate to say it, but, we see this in young people an awful lot.
Teenagers, yeah.
But also, as you're listening right now, there's a very good possibility that you have learned to control this. If you leave the house for 30 minutes to run errands, you don't have to spend 8 minutes first digging around to try to find your phone to take it with you. It's just like, okay, I'll be all right away from my phone for 30 minutes. This kind of stuff. And if you've found that place of self-control, wow, Debbie, what a difference that could make for a lot of people who really feel like, they can't set the darn thing down for just a few minutes,
Well, you think about that, Jerry. Go to a restaurant. How many times do you see people, even business people, the first thing they do is they take their phone and they put it to the right of them or to the left of them on the corner of the table. I've seen families, I've seen business meetings where you'll see 4 people sitting at a table and there's 4 phones out on the table. I mean, did you ever think we were going to get to that point in this world where that kind of reliance dependent on gadgets is so important that it takes a seat at the table? I mean, it's kind of interesting when you think about it.
Yeah, actually, I was in an eating establishment that'll be nameless, and they actually, for the younger kids, they actually hand them these little, like, I don't know if they're tablets, but kind of like video game joysticks or something. So here's mom and dad on their phones, and here they had 3 or 4 kids, and they had all been handed, these distractors when they walked in. I literally, Debbie, I watched this whole family went through their whole meal. The only words they said were, I'd like the cheeseburger and fries, and that was. No. So yeah, so we've got a situation here, folks, that really, Debbie, you put it so well earlier. We need to own, our behavior when it comes to these gadgets and not really be owned by them. So how have you found a way to do that? Or maybe you struggle with this and you want to just put out a plea for some guidance from those who have found a way to make it work. Our number is 1-800-585-9396. We're going to start your phone calls with Tim and Nora and the others here on Take 2 with Jerry and Debbie. Where are my gadgets? That is our topic today. 800-585-9396. Grab that open phone line while it's available.
From the archives, this is the wisdom of Mother Angelica.
You and I must be imitators of Jesus. We are victims sometimes of circumstances, as he was here. But it was all accepted as the Father's holy will. That is holiness. So try to pray. How much time do you spend watching soap operas or television that really isn't good television? See, well, I need to relax. I find prayer very relaxing. You can kick your shoes off and just sit there and talk to the Lord. He's your friend. You don't have to be on your dignity. There's many times during the day you can pray. In your car, when you're picking up the kids, on your way to the office. Let us be Jesus-oriented. He loves you.
For more about Mother Angelica, visit EWTNRC.com.
This is Patrick Coffin. Join me for Catholic Answers Live. It's 2 hours dedicated to Catholic apologetics and evangelization. Designed for Catholics and non-Catholics alike, it's your opportunity to hear from and talk with some of the leading apologists and theologians in the church today. You've got questions? We've got Catholic answers. Catholic Answers Live, weekdays 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network.
Wow, you guys are fast. Thanks for joining Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. The phone lines are almost completely full. There's only one open phone line. Jump on if you're waiting. 1-800-585-9396. I'm Debbie Georgiani with Jerry Usher, and this is Take Two with Jerry and Debbie, and we're talking about gadgets today. Are you attached to your gadget? We're going to get right to Tim in Des Moines, Iowa, but before we do, I just wanted to quickly just share, Jerry, this story. I know I shared it with you about 8 months ago, Jerry, but you may not have remembered it. And I wanted to share it with the listeners because it is hysterical. A friend of ours, my husband and I, we had a wonderful priest friend. His name was Father Casal, and he died in June of last year. Amazing man, just an amazing priest. And he was retired here in Arizona, but he did a lot of work in the Diocese of Phoenix. And one time I was trying to reach Father Casal, and I said to my husband, we wanted to go out to dinner, and he said, I couldn't reach him. I kept ringing the phone. There was no message. There was no, and I said to my husband, I said, I wonder if Father Casal, why isn't his cell phone picking up? Why does it keep ringing? Well, it turns out I finally got a hold of him, and I said, Father, and God rest his soul, what a great priest. Please pray for the soul of Father Casal. He's so awesome. But I said, Father, and he's Italian, so he had that robust personality. I said, Father, how come I couldn't leave a message? Where's your cell phone? And he goes, oh, Debbie, he goes, let me tell you the story about my cell phone. I said, okay, Father. And he goes, when I retired as a priest, I said, yeah. He goes, I told my secretary. He says, here, hold out your hand. And he handed his secretary the cell phone. And he says, do me a favor. See that door over there about 15 feet? Open the door. And then throw that cell phone as far out of the building as you can get it. And I started laughing. I said, oh, Father, you're kidding me. There's no way you did that. He goes, I did, and I've never regretted it. My secretary on the last day when I retired as a priest threw my cell phone out, and all I have is my home phone. And I said, but Father, how do people reach you? He goes, you reached me, didn't you? He goes, if you want me bad enough, you'll reach me. And I learned so much from that. And I'll tell you, that is an interesting concept. Think about that. So with that, I know we can move right along to Tim in Des Moines, Iowa, listening on Iowa Catholic Radio. Hi, Tim. You are first up. Where's your gadget? Welcome to Take Two.
Well, my gadget happens to be on my ear right now, ironically. But what a great topic. I have kids that, especially with kids nowadays, you see them totally attached to phones, and I have gadgets. I do a lot of running. I've got my Garmin watch and my iPod that I listen to, but I try to remind my kids and myself just that first commandment there, thou shalt not have strange gods. So if I notice my kids are really spending a lot of time on a gadget, I'll just remind them about, just remind them of that first commandment and so forth. And I also, they can be used for the greater good, too. I like to read the Magnificat daily, if at all possible, and so I keep it. They have that online now to where if I have idle time, I can actually use my gadget to read the Magnificat. So it's a good topic, and it's just something we all have to remind ourselves on and really keep track of the time we're spending on the gadget. So that's all I had, was just some comments that way.
Good stuff, Tim. Stay on the line here while we share a couple of thoughts from our end. I think you make a good point, and the whole idea of our show today is not to say, hey, we're all just way overdoing this and we need to cut back and be critical, but it's really just to kind of take a fresh look at it. And I think it's important that when we see people who may be on their, I've seen people, they actually now will have their cell phones in Mass, not during Mass, but like maybe reading the Magnificat or the readings prior to Mass. They seem very self-conscious enough to power the phone off beforehand. I know that, I have the iBreviary on my phone. And Debbie, if I'm not mistaken, there's a community, the Croziers, if I remember right, in the Phoenix area. When as you walk into the chapel, you grab an iPad. So they have the liturgy, all the readings and the office, daily office and so forth. So the potential for good here is also quite high, as Tim is pointing out.
That's true. I agree with you wholeheartedly, Tim. But I'm kind of curious, Tim. I'm in one of those curious moods today. So I shared the story, if you heard it, about my priest friend who's deceased, who had his secretary throw his cell phone out the door. I've often thought, could I do that? I mean, I'm just curious. Would that be something that you could do? I'm just curious if what people are feeling.
No, as you recounted that story, I mean, if I was in a position where I had to, or I could, I think, get by without it, but just the safety factor alone these days for traveling and so forth, that I find it really hard to actually see to where I would not have my gadget phone with me for survival, so to speak.
Right. That's
not
interesting.
that a person can't survive without it, but no, I'm going to be honest. I really can't foresee a time where I would get rid of my cell phone at this point.
Right. I feel the same way, Tim. I feel the exact same way. Sometimes I've left the home and I've been 20 minutes on the freeway and I remembered I left my cell phone at home and I turn around and I go back. I agree with you. Yeah, it's tough. And I like... go ahead.
It is scary to think of that, how attached we are to where you can't foresee getting rid of the device. But again, if I could if I had to, but I don't want to.
Yeah, and the bottom line is, Tim, we'll let you go on this. We got full phone lines here, but let's face it, cell phones have saved lives. There's no question.
That's true.
People who were stranded, people who were in accidents, people who were hurt. So this is in no way saying that this stuff is intrinsically bad or anything like that. But I think the question today is, do you feel such an attachment? Really, quite honestly, that if you don't have your phone in sight or in your hand, or as so many young people today do, in your hip pocket, do you feel sort of like something's missing? Like you're leaving the house without your car keys, that kind of thing. 800-585-9396. All right, thank you, Nora, for being patient in Owasso, Michigan, listening on Ave Maria Radio. Hi, Nora. You're on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. How are you?
Hi, thank you so much for taking my call.
Sure.
I was listening to the fellow before me, and I was going to tell you that I do use my phone for an alarm. I check.
You there, Nora? Maybe we can,
Nora.
Yeah, I don't know if Nora dropped, or maybe our call screener, Matt Gabensky, can pick up that line there. We can go back to Nora perhaps in just a minute, but we do have Fran in Niagara Falls listening on the Station of the Cross, so we will bring in Fran next on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Hello, Fran.
Hello, Jerry. Hello, Debbie.
Howdy.
I'm so glad I listen to your show quite frequently. It's very good.
Thank you.
I thought I would share with you, I'm a retired teacher, and I'll share with you something that was a precursor to maybe the cell phone problem people are having today. About 30 years ago, the California State Education Department allowed calculators to be put into the hand of every student in their schools because they thought it was a good idea. They studied it for about 10 years, and they found out after 10 years that the kids knew how to use the calculator, but when they took the calculator away from the kids, they had no idea what addition, subtraction, division, multiplication was. Mm-hmm. That's why you go many times to a store today, and unfortunately the cashiers have to wait for the cash register to add up the change back or whatever to be more sure, but the people just do not have the competency to do it in their own mind. And I think the same thing is happening with cell phones many times, that people have become so dependent on it that they forget to do normal, everyday things. All right?
Right.
I had a brother-in-law who criticized me because I don't carry I have an old-fashioned flip phone. I don't have a smartphone. Okay, I keep it in the car for emergencies, like you people mentioned. And he got on my case. He said, "Why don't you carry it with you? Why don't you?" I know. I said, "I just carry it in the car, and if an emergency happens, at least I have a contact. I have my home phone too, landline, and I'm satisfied. I'm okay with that."
Well, you bring up, I mean, Fran, this is awesome what you're saying. First of all, thank you so much for listening to Take Two. And if you can throw a prayer up every once in a while for the Take Two listeners, that would really be wonderful. We would love that. And also, I just wanted to say your points are so amazing because it goes across so many lines. Like, for instance, even with spell check, I remember doing editing some of the papers that my kids would do. And if the spell check didn't pick it up, my kids would just say, well, that's the way it's spelled. Well, no, it's not. Go look at a dictionary. It's not spelled that way. And, we would argue back and forth. And it's that same giving over your dependence to an electronic device or something that has been thought out for you. When we give away our own imagination, our own thought process, our own creativity. I mean, what does that say for us long term? I mean, that's a whole nother topic we can discuss, but that is so interesting, Fran, that you brought that up because you're right. That giving over that dependence or becoming dependent on something else really takes away what God has really given inside of us. And so that's interesting. Jerry, I'd love to hear your comments on this.
Well, I'm just kind of nodding in agreement as Fran is talking because I think that, again, for all the good that cell phones and tablets and all of these things can be used for, I think that it's really just spawned this whole a whole nother language, if you can put it that way. People think that a text with horrible grammar and even sometimes intentionally misspelled words is communicating. So I don't know, Fran, if that analogy hits home with you or not, but I think your point is really well made.
Yeah, Jerry, I'm a retired English teacher, and about misspelled words and so forth, it hits home. I know what you mean. It's good the kids have spell check. I agree with it. It's a good, but if they depend just on spell check to run it through the machine, like you said, that's fine. But in their own mind, don't they realize that a word's misspelled or this is different? That's the point I'm trying to make. Yeah.
Right. Well said, Fran. Well, thank you for being an educator and teaching all of us, especially today. We sure do appreciate it. And thanks for praying for Take Two and being a devoted listener. We sure do appreciate everything you do, Fran. Thanks. And call again and keep us updated on where we should go with topics. You just gave us another topic for today. So.
All right, Fran, thanks for calling. We appreciate that. And as always, keep your radio dial right there on the Station of the Cross. Debbie, just reminds me that you and I frequently go to the Station of the Cross. And by the way, those of you on hold, the other lines are full. We just have a break coming up right here in just a minute or so. So we don't want to start a call, but we'll get to you right on the other side of the break. But I'm just reminded that you and I, and several other people on the Third Millennium Media team go out and host pledge drives for stations. And lo and behold, that season is just around the corner, so it's not a bad time, Deb, to really encourage people to financially, as well as with their prayers, support their Catholic radio networks and stations, because we would have no place to do our show. But I think more important, just the ways that God wants to communicate with us in these days. We talk about all the time, how in our culture, God has been kind of given the boot. It's like, Lord, get out of here. We don't want you anymore. They don't even call him Lord. They just say, this sort of God that you all believe in, there's no place for him. So we've got to have the outlets for building up our faith. So I know you agree with me on that.
I completely agree. And I was just going to say, I say this all the time when we do pledge drives, Jerry, is that where are you going to hear the truth, the gospel message, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? Are you going to hear it in the secular world? Are you going to hear it in the secular media? Probably not. But you will on Catholic radio. You will on EWTN. That's why I believe, Jerry, it's worthy to support it financially. That's the reason why, because it's the truth. It's the gospel message of Jesus Christ. And I don't consider it a responsibility. I consider it a privilege to support Catholic radio and the local Catholic radio stations. They all work together, and that's what's huge. So that's my little pitch for it.
Well, and you can listen to Catholic radio on your gadgets. one of the good uses. But today we're talking about Where are my gadgets? Our number is 1-800-585-9396. By gadgets, we mean your phone, your tablet, your computer. I mean, do you feel like a little part of you is missing? Even get a little bit nervous or a little anxiety, when you just don't know where your phone is or you just don't have it with you in certain circumstances. 1-800-585-9396. Quick break, and then your calls are coming right up. On Facebook, Linda said, it's liberating. I don't need electronics and social media every day. I love having books in my hand. And Lynn said, my fingers cramp if I hold any of the gadgets too long, so I feel just fine without them. All right, way to go. We've got more from Facebook and more of your takes live on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie just ahead.
EWTN is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If your cable or satellite provider doesn't carry EWTN's full programming lineup, give them a call and let them know you would like to receive EWTN 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
For more information, go to EWTN.com and click on Television.
I've heard the complaint many times that people in ministry should stop talking so much about chastity and just focus on more pressing social justice issues. But anyone who's worked with young people knows better than to make that false distinction. Well-documented studies show that the younger a teenage girl gives up her virginity, the more likely she is to live below the poverty line. Teenage girls who are promiscuous are 6 times more likely to attempt suicide, and boys are 2 times more likely to suffer from depression. 25% of college students graduate with an STD. People who wait until marriage almost double their chance of a happy marriage. And according to a study of 14,000 teens, those who were abstinent in high school were 60% less likely to be expelled, 50% less likely to drop out, and nearly twice as likely to graduate from college. We can't pretend to care about things like justice and poverty if we don't care about the purity of our young people. This is Chris Stefanik from RealLifeCatholic.com on EWTN Radio.
Something amazing is happening on EWTN. One wildly dynamic speaker and a team of young missionaries are on a cross-country road trip, spreading their message of hope in Christ. Their passion is awakening youth to the power of God's love. It's energetic, honest, affirming, like nothing you've seen on TV before. You're Amazing with Justin Fatica. Thursdays at 10 p.m. Eastern on the Global Catholic Network, EWTN.
Thanks for being with us on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network. Don't forget to join us tomorrow. We've got another interesting discussion, Jerry, about if you're paying attention to the presidential election campaign. I mean, how awesome is that? There's a lot of talk happening, a lot that's going on. So make sure you mark your calendar for tomorrow or set it on your timer on your cell phone or whatever works. But today we're talking about gadgets. And I just wanted to share, Jerry, talking about a topic Fran from Niagara Falls brought up about calculators and stuff. I think it would be great to do a topic on is spell check the new spelling bee? Wouldn't that be cool? Isn't that a good topic? All right, so we're going to move right along to Mary Beth in Connecticut. Hi, Mary Beth. You've been waiting so patiently. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Hello.
Hey, Mary. Hi, Mary Beth.
Oh, I'm sorry. I heard static. Thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
Where's my technology? It's off. It's lunchtime. So in my house, the technology's checked at the door. You can't come in the kitchen with it.
Ooh, nice.
And we sit and we have meals, so we have a conversation. I think technology has to be kept in perspective. It's a tool. It's not another person. And I think we have to check ourselves twice before we start divesting our intellectual capacities into a machine. So when Debbie was talking about remembering telephone numbers, I always have hard copy telephone numbers of everybody, and I go out of my way to memorize their telephone number. I'm sure a lot of people have gone through the process of something melting down and losing all their records. So I never have everything just on a phone. Mm-hmm. But we God says he speaks to us in the silence, and we can't even speak to each other if we're totally distracted by technology. My younger daughter was in high school. I took all of her technology away because she was so frenetic and so anxiety-ridden. She was like out of control. And she was a visual arts student. She actually did a video of it and had me sit in a chair, and I asked her for piece by piece by piece. By the time she was done, you couldn't see me because all this stuff was sitting in my lap. And my husband put a steel box around the plug for the television and the DVD player, and then he put a padlock on it, and it was a key padlock, not a combo, and then he took the key. So she was confined to 1 hour of television a day. And she used to nag me because I was home before he was. Can you unlock the box? I'm like, I don't have the key. You have to talk to your dad. So, but it was, it was well worth it because they read. Both our daughters read. One became a criminal defense attorney, the one who wanted to figure out how to break in to the padlock plug. The other one became a child psychologist. But
wow.
they were both, raised in a house where we put all of this stuff in perspective. And my husband is a techno guru. He's a elementary school teacher, and he is like the technical guy for everybody in the entire school. And he's, a big fan of technology and online education and stuff. And we had boatloads of the stuff here.
Right.
But we had to keep it in perspective.
Right.
And our family dinner table became like a town square because all of our daughters would bring all their friends over, and their friends were always kind of stupefied because we would sit and actually have a conversation at the dinner table. And
imagine that.
They didn't experience it. I mean, there are times we never knew how many people were coming for dinner.
Right.
We'd come home on a Friday night and there'd be 7 kids in the kitchen.
That's amazing.
So
That's amazing. Mary Beth,
to do it.
Yeah, Mary Beth, you said so many things that we can comment on, and it's amazing. And you've really touched on different topics that we have actually talked about on previous shows. The importance of family meals, the importance of speaking to one another, the importance of really getting back to the heart and the root of how we were created. To actually read books and sit down and to explore the imagination and to really use all our senses and not to rely on things. And so you nailed it completely. And I have to say that I think you speaking is going to really help thousands and thousands of others to make those decisions. Now, maybe some people may say, I don't want to be to the point where I do put a padlock on. But maybe some will. And if it works in your family, then that's what I think we need to empower people to do to better the family, and it bettered your family. So how beautiful is that? And Jerry, I know you wanted to say a few things.
No, I just say, amen. Especially, I think the biggest thing for me is the mealtime. It's so symbolic of Eucharist, really, the Eucharist. When we break bread with the Lord, and if we don't have, we know that everyone's busy going in a lot of different directions, but I think the family meal, how do we get to know each other? We're flesh and blood. We're mom, we're dad, we're siblings. We're not just someone grabbing a tray at a cafeteria, passing through the meal line, with family. So, Mary Beth, I just want to thank you for that. We've got tons and tons. The phone lines are still just packed. So we'll let you move on with your day on that note, Mary Beth, and we'll pray for you. Please do so for us. Sounds like you got a really good approach to this, and we appreciate you calling Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Those of you on the line, appreciate your patience. We're going to move through these calls as quickly as we can. Terry is in Rochester, Michigan next on iHeartRadio. Hi, Terry. Welcome to the program. How are you?
Hi, I'm fine, thank you.
Good.
I was just making a comment because I am a mother of 4 girls and from 7 to 15, and 3 of them have cell phones. So I am in this uphill battle with the cell phone. I hate technology at this point, but I know that we do turn them off at meal times, and we take them away on Sundays. So we're working on keeping them out of the rooms, but that seems like an uphill battle. But for me, my cell phone, and Debbie was talking about panicking, the only time that I panic, or the reason I panic, is because I don't know where I'm supposed to be in a half hour without my cell phone. I mean, gone are the days of daytimers and that kind of thing, and I don't know what I'm doing for the day until I wake up and look at my cell phone, and then I know where I'm supposed to be when. And otherwise, I would literally miss appointments, not pick my daughter up. I mean, it is my lifeline as far as what I need to do.
Mm-hmm.
So that is my issue with it. Is
right.
And if I was addicted, that would be why.
Well, Terry, can I share something? Because this is what I do, and I know people laugh at it, but it goes back to Mary Beth's point, and I hope Mary Beth's listening. She'll probably be smiling when I say this. I actually have my stuff on my phone, but I also have a hard copy calendar that I carry with me with all the numbers in it and everything, for the exact reason of if something were to happen to my phone, I would be lost. I probably, I wouldn't show up for appointments. But I have my calendar, the old-fashioned calendar that we all used to carry in our briefcases. It's with me at all times. And Jerry, you can attest to this, because Jerry and I work together outside of the show. And Jerry, you can attest to this. Am I able to find stuff manually? I think you're going to say yes. I can find stuff so easily because I have it all manually done. Now, it's a double entry. I will tell you, it's a double entry. I do it on the phone. But it is so relaxing to know that I can walk away from the phone. I can pick up my calendar, and I have everybody's contacts in there, notes and dates and everything. I don't know if that helps you, Terry, but that's what I do.
It seems like a great idea. I know it seems like it would take more time to do that double system, which that's what I'm lacking in my life is time. So, yeah, I mean, I bet it is important, because it has happened where I've lost my cell phone, and it's not practical to run to your computer at home when you're out and about and look on, because I know it's backed up. But yeah, it is a good idea. That's something I'll have to start working on.
Well, here's what's funny about it. I've been on trips, and you know how you have to power down your phone to fly, and you have to be on airplane mode.
Yeah.
You should see all the work I get to do, because all my stuff is manually there. I get so much work done, and it's amazing and freeing that I don't feel like, oh my goodness, I'm on a 4-hour flight and I can't touch my phone and I'm not going to get anything done. I get everything done. It's really the old-fashioned way, but I love it. So. I don't know. I don't mean to hog the conversation, Jerry, because I want you to.
Well, anything else, Terry, before we let you go?
No, that's it. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks,
Bless
Terry.
you. Yeah, you know where this kind of gets to me a little bit is I don't like to write things by hand anymore. I used to love to write. I had good penmanship, did very well in school and all of that. But I think maybe it's a time thing that Terry was talking about. It's so much. I type pretty well, actually. I'm a very good typist, make a few mistakes, but I would so much rather type something than write it out. But there are certain times and instances today that still require writing by hand. I have a very dear friend, tragically lost her husband recently to a stroke. Please pray for Gib Fagan. He was the husband of Mary Fagan, who was the first producer at Catholic Answers Live when I worked there, and Gib passed away recently. And, I had to send a sympathy card and some other things. And, that and so many other things, a thank you card to somebody, it's got to be handwritten, because it really shows that personal touch. And I'm doing this and I'm going, man, can't I just put this thing in on the typewriter, or, type out a note on the computer? So there are the lines that we have to draw in all of this stuff. So anyway, a lot of patient people on the line, including Angie in Denver. Angie's listening on Sirius XM 130 today. Hello. Wait a minute. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Angie or Alice? Oh, Alice, you're going to be next. Yeah, Angie,
Right.
You're next in Denver. Sorry about that.
First of all, I want to thank you for the rosary, okay?
Oh, you're welcome.
I was so excited when I got it. But listen, I'm 65, okay, so understand that. I'm also just found out 8 months ago that I'm ADD, so everything's got to be written down in hearing and written down. So with the cell phone, I have it in everything. I have I have all my stuff in it. My prayer life is in it. My rosary, my divine mercy, my readings for Mass, everything. And it helps me in my divine office. Everything's verbalized so that I can hear it and see it at the same time. And a lot of times, instead of, because I'm so small, I'm only 4'6", picking up the books at church is hard to, mobilize. And so what I do is I have it on the cell phone. So I read it from the cell phone. And I agree with what you all are saying, because I've only been using it for 5 years now. One night I left it at my son's house, and he said, I'll get it back to you the next morning. And I kept saying, Lord, keep me calm. Keep me calm, Lord. But like when I'm out on my bike and stuff, I can pray. I can say the rosaries because I can't concentrate. So I can say the rosary, hear it, and be able to say it and not get sidetracked. So I agree with everything you're saying, but you got to look at another side of it too.
Right.
That's my point.
I agree with you, Alice. I think you make wonderful statements about it, and I think that it does help us to look at all sides of things. I think that's what's wonderful about Take Two, is that we do explore all angles and see how it affects different people and in their walk of life. And so you helped us, you opened our eyes to that. So there is huge benefits and positive elements. Go ahead.
Just be able to find it you don't know what, when you go look at the App Store, there's 900,000 things. But if I hear from somebody else that they're using the Divine Office verbally with the cell phones, and I go pick it up. And that's what I did with the rosary and everything else. But you don't realize how beneficial things are. When, you see it as one thing, you got the kids looking at it or me looking at it during dinner time. And I know that's wrong, and I get frustrated at where I go for coffee every morning with friends, that sometimes I'll be on the phone. But if they ask a question nobody can answer, I go to the cell phone and look it up for them. So it's a fine loop right there. But, you learn to handle it. But I agree with you, at dinners and stuff, don't use it.
Right.
Don't sit down and just have it in front of you looking at it all the time. But it's there if you have questions and stuff. So that was my take on it.
Well, we love your take on it, Alice, and we're glad that you share it, and we're glad that you love the rosary, and we hope we pray that brings you abundant blessings as you pray it. And we're excited that you shared your take. It really gave us a new angle to things, a new look at things. So thank you, Alice. Have a beautiful rest of your day, and thanks for calling in. Keep praying for Take Two. We can't ask it enough. We have so many listeners that depend on our prayers as a Take Two community, right, Jerry?
Yeah, for sure. And we appreciate the prayers for us. We pray for you every day. Let's always remember to pray for each other as well. We're going to go to New Jersey next. Sirius XM 130 listener Maureen, welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. How are you?
Yes, hi. I'm calling from New Jersey. I'm a mother of 3, and no one in my home has any device except for my daughter. She only got a phone when she started driving. But here's my thing. I think it's much more insidious than all of this. I think this has changed the complete spiritual, social, economic culture in America. Our children are on social media, and even if you take their phones away, they have friends with phones, they have access to social media at school. It usurps the spiritual authority of parents. Children can bypass the authority of parents. As an American, I'm concerned that our children, this generation of children, is so willing to give up all of their information about themselves, post pictures, on Twitter or whatever they're using, Instagram. They post what's happening to them every day. My parents never even talked about their political ideas with strangers or their religion because it was private. As Americans, we had a right to privacy. So I think it's changed the perception of who we are as a society. It's taken jobs away, as technology has advanced. Robotics has taken jobs away from people. I think it's changed our entire structure. Children Google now, and they think that they're getting all of the information available to them, but really they're getting the information that Google wants them to have. It's not like going to an encyclopedia, but they don't know the difference. So, I have a lot of concerns about it. Also, I think it's an occasion of sin. A child can be on a computer and an ad could pop up, and that would, titillate an interest, or, friends talk about things that are happening now, something called the deep web that my son just told me one of his friends told him about. That might incite curiosity. So you can't protect your children as well as you could have before.
Yeah, Maureen, these are all fantastic points. Debbie and I are just marveling, kind of nodding at each other going, wow, this is good stuff. And I would add, maybe something else that you perhaps, included or implied in there, and that is even physical changes to young people. Debbie, you know about this. We talked about the anxiety, the nervousness about not having their phones. It's so much more important to them how they look. If their weight is just right, there's all of these various changes, and then there are things like just social mores, how to relate to other people. A lot of times, younger people think they're relating in a deep way, but they're not. I think there's just so many points that Maureen makes here, Debbie, that all I think are very, very right on the point.
Yeah, Jerry and Maureen, I have to tell you that, Maureen, everything you're saying, I am just, raising my head up and down going, go, Maureen, go, because as a youth minister for many, many years, I can't tell you how many times all of our core team, the catechists, would try to create an environment to give kids another look at life, another perspective, another kind of setting of life, to get them to think outside of that electronic device. And it was so hard. We used to have parents even tell us, well-intentioned parents, they would say, stop trying to bring the kids backwards. The kids are moving fast. You got to catch up with the kids. And we were like, no, you're missing it. These kids aren't even thinking. They're not using their imagination. They're relying on these gadgets. So Maureen, I think we're talking two topics today. We've got the adults that use gadgets that can use them with, like Alice was saying, it's a great benefit to her. She's using it. She understands, how to use it well, and it's working for her. And then we've got the idea of the kids growing up and what this really means for their future and what this means for the future for all of us. Not to mention, Jerry, and you brought it up about the anxiety and all things that are associated with it, but also, Jerry, what about the fact of the high radiation? We hear tests all the time, never to put a cell phone next to your head, not to keep cell phones in your pockets because it can hurt the bone structure. So Maureen, you bring up so many points. Here's my question, though. How do we start to change this idea? How do we introduce a new idea that can get people to start maybe realizing what you're saying, Maureen?
Well, I certainly don't have every answer. The only thing that I can say is, I elected to stay at home. I left my career and elected to stay at home with my children so that I could have more influence in their lives. But that being said, I homeschooled them, but once they went to high school, and thanks be to God, I have wonderful children. But once my daughter went to high school, she was exposed to things that I would not have her exposed to. But I think what is the answer? I don't know. Maybe respect for, I don't know how you can say to go backward, but I think it's actually dumbing our children down. I mean, when you study history and art, you see that Michelangelo created things by the time he was 13 that our children couldn't create by the time they were 80, or that, Blaise Pascal in the 1400s, I think it was, laid what is now, created the Pascal theorem when he was 13 years old and laid the foundation for what is now the contemporary computer. I mean, our society has been dumbed down on every level. My concerns really, one of my great concerns is the usurping of parental authority, because these children can get around no matter whether you take their phones away. Their friends have phones, and if they're good children, hopefully they'll be obedient. So I think the only thing that you can do is start from the beginning, impress their faith walk into them when they're children, so that when they're older, hopefully you'll have open communication. I think that my children and I do. Hopefully you'll have open communication, and hopefully they'll have a basis in Christ, who is reality. And you have to keep bringing these children, no matter how grown they are. I mean, our minds are not fully developed till we're like 25.
Right.
So no matter how grown up they think they are, they're going to make bad choices. But it's a struggle. I think it makes more of a stress. It's more of a stress on families today than ever before. And again, it could be an occasion of sin. My son, I homeschool and we were using the computer and an ad will pop up. So there's so many facets of technology that are bad, but it is necessary to function in today's world. But I think our society has been dumbed down, and it's become much more crass because of social media. We've become a much more crass society. There are no more secrets.
Well, Maureen, on that note, we're just getting really short on time, but you've got a message and you've got a passion for this, and so pray about that. See if the Lord might have you do something. I don't know, write pamphlets, write a book, become a speaker about this, because I think your perspective could really, really be of help to a lot of people. Bless you, Maureen. Thanks for your concern. Thank you for calling. Real quick, Angie, we have 1 minute for you in Denver, but we wanted to get your take because it looks interesting on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Hi, Angie. Got about 1 minute. Go for it.
Okay, well, I lost my phone in Disney World about a year and a half ago, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me. So the anxiety was gone from not having a phone, and I wasn't attached to it anymore. My friends were like, "You need a cell phone," and I was like, "Call my home. It's so much better." And they emailed me and whatever. But I got another one. I'm on it right now. But what I found was the silence. I mean, it was so important to be silent, and I was actually grieving at the time, so it worked out really well. And I found God more in that. I think we're trying to fill a void with our phones, and God is what fills that void. So I really think that, if we need to stop putting our trust in our gadgets and just really fill that need that we have, like with fulfillment and Scripture and Mass and adoration and just a love for Christ and really just talking to Him. And so that's my 1 minute, right?
Yeah, and you're right on time, Angie. Way to go! Way to time that out. I would just simply say to that, you are so right. In our world today, I have this mental image of like this shot from outer space, and you see the Earth, and next to the Earth is this head with this mouth that's wide open, and this scream, this primal scream, almost shaking the Earth at its foundations. It's the world we live in today. It's hard enough to understand the concept of silencing ourselves and listening to God. Okay, it's hard enough for especially young people to even grasp that, let alone do it. So, Debbie, I think we are fighting, especially parents, are fighting this battle on a level that parents have never had to fight this battle on before. So, Angie, thank you for your call. Debbie, that's my takeaway.
Oh, yes. And thank you, Angie, so very much. Bringing in silence. That's what we needed to hear. Let God speak to you, not through your gadgets, but just through just being with our Lord in silence. He can speak to you. That's my takeaway, Jerry, too. Silence is the key. I love it. So tomorrow, if you're interested in paying attention to what's going on in the presidential election campaign, tomorrow's the show. We're going to talk about it. We want to hear from you. So don't forget to be with us tomorrow. Jerry?
Yeah, well, and as I mentioned, we had a lot of activity on social media. Teresita said, being without my gadgets is feeling like something's missing. But Jeannie says, I feel awesome. I'd rather have a rosary or a Bible. So there you go. That's Take Two with Jerry and Debbie as we kick off a new week. Thanks for being with us. And Debbie and I hope that you have a beautiful and